Hi, welcome to this short video on performance and engagement in the workplace. So what I would like to do is actually look at a model of engagement and performance. This model is put together by David McLeod and Nita Clark and is a really useful model because it actually really clarifies what people need in place in the workplace in order to perform at their optimal level and to be fully engaged. So this piece of work was commissioned actually by the government a long time ago, and it was around building skills and developing the economy as a result of that. So this is where it's come from, but actually it's a particularly useful model, and it's called the 4 pillars of engagement. So the first pillar is around leadership and is about the leadership of any organisation or business or team. And really, you know, we can look at it from the leadership in terms of status, but we can also look at it as leaders in different parts of the business at different levels. But the first pillar is really that the leadership in the organisation or business provides a strategic narrative. So a clear vision and view which other people understand and can tune into. So that's the key one. So when people know where they're going to, and we've talked about this in terms of having really good SMART objectives and why that's important around creating clarity for the brain. When people have the vision and are very clear about how they fit into the vision, they have that greater sense of value and then potentially a higher level of engagement and commitment to you as their team leader and to the organisation as a whole. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is around engaging managers. So this is about managers who have a deeper relationship with their team members. One where they are very trusting of each other, can have good conversations, can provide honest feedback in both directions. And it's one where managers actually coach their team members, and by coaching I don't mean on-job training or job shadowing, I mean coaching them in its purest sense, in that they're enabling others to identify their own solutions and actions as a result of asking really good questions, a skill in itself. So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is around employee voice. So allowing the employee to actually be heard. And this is not just hearing the employee in a very vertical way. It's actually also across the organisation horizontally and diagonally, so that people have an opportunity to voice their opinions, their ideas, their suggestions, their complaints in numerous ways within an organisation. People want to be heard. People want to be heard and listened to. And people want to provide ideas and be involved in that. And the more we can do that, the better. So think about ways that the organisation is doing that at the moment, or attempting to do that. And the final pillar, so that's the third pillar, but the final pillar, the fourth pillar, is around organisational integrity. That people do what they say they're going to do. So the values, I know they've been in place for some time in the Cheltenham team, and they've been kind of aligned with the wider organisation's values. So, you know, they're being, they're just much more clear. Everybody is becoming more aware of those, but what do those mean in practice? So it will be very interesting to see how the leaders within the organisation and everyone else walks the talk as such. So what do those actually mean, those values mean in terms of practice? So striving for excellence, what does that mean in terms of real life practice every day? And do we do that? And as leaders at all different levels within the organisation, are we aiming for that where possible and as often as possible? It's interesting to think, out of those 4 pillars, leadership and providing the strategic narrative, engaging managers, employee voice and organisational integrity, what do you have control of and what do you not have control of? So it's interesting to think about that, and I would like you to discuss that more in your activation session. Something else I would like to focus on in terms of performance management is and performance is actually the area of feedback, and how important that is. So we have asked people for feedback recently, and as part of your assignment, you did that very recently, and you know, it was nearly a 360 feedback. And a 360 feedback is when you ask a range of people right around you, a 360 kind of fashion, for feedback. So that would obviously be your peers, your team members, team members, your manager, your manager's manager, and maybe some of your clients, stakeholders, etc., etc. So anyone that you provide or have any communication with, or are linked to in any way. And that is about getting, you know, honest and respectful feedback from someone. And that's the key to this. It's actually being honest and using the language in an honest and respectful way in order for that person to improve. So I always think about this from the perspective of what is my agenda in providing this feedback to this individual. Is it truly about helping them to improve their performance? And I think you should consider that whenever you receive feedback from someone else. What is the intention behind this? 99.9% of the time, there is a positive intention. There is a positive intention. And if it creates an emotion for you, I would be questioning, how come I'm feeling this emotion and what's that all about? Okay, so our feedback is all about honest and respectful language, plus a real clear purpose and intention behind why you're providing that feedback. And this is about building trust. This is about building trust. Okay, so useful to think about. And also, finally, I mean, what are we trying to support people with in terms of their ability and performance in the workplace? What do we want to do with those people? We want them to be engaged and maintain that engagement, and feel enthusiasm and energy towards their work and what they do and the quality of their work and how they do it, how they behave in work. And I suppose what we also want to do is try and move them, if they are in any kind of fixed mindset, into a growth mindset. So that's about not being afraid to fail, and being very open about mistakes and sharing those with others as a learning experience. So that would be something around organisational integrity and striving for that excellence, because actually it's a great learning opportunity. And it's about not being afraid to take on new challenges. It's about understanding that it's all about the learning and not always just about the outcomes. So of course we've got targets we have to meet, and that's very important for our clients, but actually how else can we build some learning into these processes? And usually that's around communication. How have we communicated with a client or a colleague or a peer, and what can we learn from that? So I find that the best learning is actually when people are vulnerable and open about issues, and actually discuss that with their team leader or manager, and work that through. And as a team leader, if you can be as coach-like with that individual as possible, that will go a long way in order to increase their performance and build their engagement.